She was invisible, just another poor black waitress no one cared to notice. But in one terrifying moment, she saw something no one else did, a red dot aimed at a man's heart. In a room full of power, the only person who noticed the danger was the one everyone ignored. She had seconds to act and everything to lose. But when she did, she became the suspect instead of the hero. Why? The night felt ordinary until it was. She was just a poor black waitress, invisible to most, moving quietly between tables while the wealthy laughed around her. No one noticed her. No one ever did. But in a single heartbeat, something caught her eye, a faint red dot trembling across a man's chest. At first, she thought it was a reflection, a trick of the light, but then it moved. And suddenly, everything inside her screamed that something was terribly wrong. The billionaire didn't see it. No one did. In a room full of power, money, and influence, the only person who noticed the danger was the one everyone overlooked. And in the next few seconds, one decision would change both of their lives forever. But the real question is, why was she the only one paying attention? It had always been the same routine. Long hours, quiet steps, and a life that most people never noticed. She worked double shifts at a high-end restaurant where the wealthy came to unwind, celebrate, and be seen. For her, it wasn't about luxury, it was survival. Every plate she carried, every table she cleared, was another step toward keeping the lights on at home. But no matter how hard she worked, she was often treated like she didn't belong there. Some customers barely looked at her, others spoke over her, and a few made it painfully clear they saw her as less than. She had learned to stay calm, to stay invisible, because causing a scene was never an option. Still, she noticed everything, the small details others ignored. The way people moved, the shifts in energy, the things that didn't quite feel right. That night seemed no different. The restaurant buzzed with quiet laughter and clinking glasses, and at one corner table sat a man everyone recognized, a billionaire surrounded by attention and status. People watched him, admired him, but not in the way she did, because while everyone else saw power, she saw something else. Something that didn't belong. At first, she tried to ignore it. The red dot flickered for just a second, then disappeared behind the soft glow of the restaurant lights. Her grip tightened around the tray in her hands, her heart picking up a pace she couldn't explain. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe it was just her mind playing tricks after another exhausting shift. But then it came back. This time it was clearer, steady, precise, resting right on the billionaire's chest. Her breath caught. Everything around her seemed to blur, the laughter, the music, the clinking glasses, fading into a distant hum. All she could see was that tiny red point, unmoving now like it had a purpose. Like someone somewhere was watching, waiting. She looked around quickly, scanning the room, the windows, the dark reflections beyond the glass. No one else reacted, not the guests, not the staff. Not even the man whose life hung by a thread. For a moment, she hesitated, because speaking up wasn't simple for someone like her. She had learned that the hard way. The last time she tried to warn a customer about something small, she had been dismissed without a second glance. Another time, a manager had pulled her aside, reminding her to stay in her place after a guest complained she was being too involved. And then there were the looks, the quiet assumptions. The way security seemed to watch her more closely than anyone else, as if she were the threat in a room full of power and privilege. If she was wrong now, if she caused a scene, she wouldn't just be embarrassed, she could lose everything. But if she was right, her eyes snapped back to the red dot. It shifted slightly, just an inch, gliding across the fabric of the billionaire's suit like a silent signal. Her pulse pounded in her ears. This wasn't random, this wasn't light, this was a target. She stepped forward instinctively, then stopped herself. Doubt crept in again, heavy and suffocating. Who would believe her? A poor black waitress interrupting a high-profile guest. In a place like this, her voice didn't carry weight, it caused problems. Across the room, she noticed one of the security guards. His posture was stiff, his eyes scanning, but not the right places. He wasn't looking out the windows. He wasn't seeing what she saw. No one was. The red dot steadied again, dead center. Time felt like it was slowing down, stretching into something unbearable. Every second that passed made it harder to breathe, harder to think. She realized something then, something that made her chest tighten even more. If she waited for someone else to act, it would already be too late. Her fingers trembled slightly as she set the tray down. The decision was no longer about fear or consequences or how she would be judged. It was about seconds, just seconds. Because somewhere out there, hidden in the darkness beyond the glass, someone had already made their move. Everything inside her screamed, move. Before doubt could drag her back, she stepped forward fast, cutting through the crowded floor. Her voice tried to rise, but it caught in her throat. No one was listening anyway. No one ever did. So she didn't ask, she acted. In one sharp motion, she reached the table and shoved the billionaire sideways hard enough to send the chair scraping across the floor. Gasps erupted, glass shattered. The room froze, and then it happened. A deafening crack split the air. The window behind them exploded, shards raining down like knives as the bullet tore through the exact spot where his chest had been a second before. Screams filled the room. People dropped, ducking under tables, chaos erupting in every direction. But before she could even process what she'd done, rough hands grabbed her. Security. They didn't hesitate, they didn't ask. They forced her to the ground, pinning her arms behind her back as voices shouted over each other. Accusations, assumptions, she attacked him, get her out of here. Her cheek pressed against the cold floor, her heart still racing from the shot, but now something else crept in, something heavier. No one saw the red dot, no one saw the bullet coming. All they saw was her, the same way they always had, a threat, a problem, someone who didn't belong. She tried to speak, to explain, but her words were swallowed by the chaos. The billionaire was being pulled away, shaken but alive, surrounded instantly by people who protected him, people who never once protected her. And in that moment, as she lay there restrained, treated like the danger instead of the one who stopped it, one question burned through everything. Would anyone ever see the truth, or was she about to pay the price for saving a life? For a moment, everything blurred into noise, sirens, shouting, footsteps rushing in every direction. Then slowly the truth began to surface. Security reviewed the footage. Frame by frame, the moment unfolded, the red dot, steady and unmistakable, the sudden movement, the bullet shattering glass exactly where the billionaire had been sitting. And just like that, the narrative shifted. The same people who had pinned her to the ground now stepped back. The same voices that accused her fell silent. Because the truth was undeniable, she hadn't attacked him, she had saved him. The billionaire, still shaken, demanded answers, and when he saw the footage himself, something changed in his expression. For the first time that night, he looked at her, not past her, not through her, but at her. But even as the room settled, something didn't feel resolved. Because the danger had passed, but the damage hadn't. She was helped to her feet, but no apology could erase what had already happened. The fear, the way she was treated as guilty without question. The way her courage was mistaken for threat, and that stayed with her. Long after the headlines faded and the story was told as a miracle, she carried the truth of that moment, a truth far too familiar to ignore. Because it wasn't just about one night. It was about how quickly she was judged, how easily she was dismissed, how even in the moment she did everything right, she was still seen as wrong. And that raises a question we can't ignore. If she hadn't acted, a man might have died. But because she did, she was treated like the danger. So what does that say about the world we're living in? And more importantly, how much longer will stories like this keep repeating before something finally changes?